You're listening to the Road to Wisdom podcast, weaving stories told by wonderful minds about all things motherhood, health, intimacy, politics, nature, and everything in between.
Join us on an adventure discovering unique experiences that we can learn from to enhance the ways in which we live.
We are your hosts, Chloe
and Keshia. Wait. Hey everyone. Today we've got Luna Escribano in the studio with us.
Do you want to try and pronounce her last name?
Pereira.
Yeah.
Pereira. Yeah. Hey.
We good.
Yeah, it's that Italian.
It's because you've been in Italy. You got us.
Yeah, because I'm basically Italian now.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen the tea cake on the counter? Again.
Because I'm legit.
No, we're excited to talk again. And hopefully this time we'll have beautiful audio technology. Anyway,
sorted.
Yeah. No, we're just so curious with your perspective and just always interested in kind of letting you speak because it's so interesting, especially your ideas about feminism and, you know, obviously you've left, you know, quote unquote, the new age world. And so, yeah, I'd love to just get straight into talking about like the waves of feminism and your views on that.
Your studies.
Yeah, because you did study feminism and gender in your psychology studies.
Mm-hmm. At uni, yeah.
Yes. So I did a bachelor's degree in psychology, and one of the classes was around gender psychology. And I think before that I already had I was brought up being a little feminist already because I was raised by a single mother, and she was always like, you cannot depend on anyone. You can only depend on yourself. So with that as like the backdrop, I was already open to what feminism had to offer. And I always saw feminism as something positive, as progression, you know, and leaving behind the antiquated ways of thinking. So I did most or all of my papers around feminism when I was taking that class. And so the way I saw it back then, it was in a positive light, because of course the way that I was researching and studying it was from the people that supported it. So all I had was well, of course, there are benefits that came from feminism, like women's votes and women's education and all these things, that just because now I have a different view towards feminism doesn't mean that what it brought for women is negative. So that's something that just kind of put on the table first before just kind of being like, feminism, this or that. So
I think just really quickly, it's always, because I mean, I guess our whole podcast is pretty much about talking about the issues within the things that are good. I mean, a bunch of them are phenomenal changes and technologies and things that have happened to society, and yet what's being ignored is some of this underlying consequence of these like particular things like feminism, medicine, all of the above. So I think, it's a good kind of disclaimer.
Like an equilibrium.
Yeah. So I think a good disclaimer is that with feminism, it's such like, it definitely had its benefits, and we have all benefited from those benefits.
Yeah.
However, there have been some pretty dire consequences as well, which no one talks about because they think you'll end up throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So no, it was good to bring that up. Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things that let's say started the first movement of feminism back in the 1800s, early 1800s as well, it was so this woman, she saw there was a big problem with alcohol and men, and they wanted to maybe pass a rule or like a law, so men would stop drinking that much alcohol, or just to find some type of balance there in society. And what happened was that the men were not voting for it. So then that was the first movement towards women just kind of having a voice, because the women were the ones that were being mainly affected by it, like drunk husbands coming home, and maybe a bit of violence, maybe a bit of abuse as well. So that's actually how it started. So we can see that it started with some moral issues that it wanted to target, and that was fine. And I think I want to go through the positive aspects of kind of each movement, which I'm not going to go like super broad. It's just quite specific. Yeah, then we see that there are more women than standing up against slavery and against abuse. And so then the women see that they actually do have some power, and they have a voice. So then they start using it a bit more. And by the second wave of feminism, that it was more around, abortions and about the 50s housewife figure. So what happened with feminism and abortion is that they were seeing that women were actually dying in like back alley abortions, and they were like, okay, we don't want women to, we want them to have a safe place to be able to do this, and not to be just dying in the back of an alley trying to do this in a very unsanitized way. And so we can see how that was a noble cause as well. And around the image of the 50s housewife, they're like, that's so unrealistic, like that's not real, that's evil. So they kind of started targeting the evil of society through it. What we see, and they were also against like pornography, and against a few things that now we can see that they are for. And that is where the problem is. When we've taken the moral standpoint of what feminism was back then, that wasn't even called feminism, then we've taken it and we've made it around sexual liberation, around
sorry, really quickly, when did the sexual liberation wave kind of start? Where was that?
That was around the 60s.
Okay.
So like the hippies came in,
and so that is that the same as reproductive rights? Like, did that all come in around the same time? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, because if you have the reproductive rights, it's like my body, my choice, even though back then they were not really saying that. It was like, well, I am free to express myself however I want to express myself, and I don't conform to the rules, especially religious, that society has bestowed upon women, that they have to wait till marriage, that they can only be with their husbands, like sleep with one person. And then all hell breaks loose from that, from when we get sturdy foundations that build society, we crumble them and we go, I'm going to do whatever I want. And that's where chaos comes in.
I'm super interested in the sexual revolution / like the reproductive rights movements, because it was a sign of like you were bound by staying in a marriage, or by sleeping with one person, or by like potentially like the risk of falling pregnant if you were to be like, you know, express your sexuality, the risk of falling pregnant with like randoms that like one aren't going to be there for you, two like probably not the safest situation, you know. So I can see, and also was brought up with, you know, that now that we have control over our reproductivity, we can sleep around like men, and we can, and that's equality. And this is how it was all fed through.
Yeah, and I guess people don't understand why, when you say like that creates chaos, I think that's the thing that people don't see. They're like, yeah, well, who cares? We can just get abortions, or like, it's just a simple acknowledgement that doing whatever you want whenever you want, with whoever you want, especially when we're talking about having sex, like the result of that is a baby. So I guess that's the thing. Like we just don't want to have, we just want to be, reckless, I suppose. And so I guess that's a point. It's like,
but I don't know if can I challenge you on that one? Because I don't know if it was ever seen as reckless. It was seen definitely as like liberating.
It was glorified.
Liberating. I'm a liberated woman, right? And
that's the thing. It's not actually freedom
that
you get from it, but it feels like it.
Right? So can we pick that apart a little bit? Because I don't know if people actually see that. Like we were sold this thing of liberation, but women in general, we're talking, there's a bell curve of this, and I'm talking very in the middle there, but women generally want connection. Like our oxytocin levels, and if you look at any of John Gray's work or any other kind of sexual biologist, our oxytocin levels come from connection, which is from a partner, like a steady partner who chooses us, from like our children, like forming those bonds with our friendship groups and other women, and be able like just having our coffee chats validated.
Which is funny. We'll explain to you later why this is so funny.
But like those coffee chats, this chat is an oxytocin high for us. Like this is what women get, like those connections. Whereas men don't get their oxytocin from connection. It actually decreases their oxytocin a little bit, right? So it came from a place of like, now we're equal. Now, we get the same things, but what biologically we need is so different to what men need biologically.
And I think just like a point of view to consider is like when we were younger, and I'm sure, I know for a fact that many of my friends would be able to resonate with this, but we glorified especially, let's just say you're going to have like a one night stand or something, and it was cool for you to be like, I don't want anything more. Like, don't call me anymore. We're just friends. And really, like, we would go home and be like, why isn't he called? Why isn't he? And you're like, well, because we got duped. It actually wasn't cool. No. And to pretend like you weren't affected by someone just wanting to have sex with you, like we did that. Yeah. As someone in my early 20s, or late teens, I should say, I felt like there was some kind of power and strength in denying myself the need for that person to be wanting me.
And connection.
And connection.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah. And then, coming full circle there, that's where we're not liberated. No. That's not freedom. That's being bound to a life of misery and like neglecting ourselves.
And external validation. And like, do I still got it? Does he like me? And again, everything comes to the search. And it just continues, like the endless search, the seeker, the woman who's sleeping around. I never did that, so I can't really. I was like a relationship girl, so I would be like, my first boyfriend was like 3 years, then I had another one for 2 years, and then it was like that. So I can't relate, and I can't even think about what women in that kind of expression would be feeling like, or I would think that they're really miserable, to be honest, even though if they're like, yeah, I'm doing whatever I want, and I don't know, look how many guys I've slept with or anything like that. I just can't get into their shoes. But what I do know that I recently came across, probably recently, like a year ago, is about the pair bonding and how women, there is a natural, or I like to call it a godly design for men and women. And one of the things that women were created to be connected to man or to God. And whenever there is a disconnection from that, then we'll seek every other avenue for distraction. And that could be like drugs, alcohol, sleeping around, the hookup culture. And then we'll have the validation from society saying that this is liberation and that's good that you're doing that. And of course the birth control and the Planned Parenthood and all this came through to support the woman to be able to go on her way and just have casual sex, pretty much, which doesn't support her system. Like the feminine system doesn't want to be sleeping around. That's why you'll feel like after connecting with someone, even if you're like, oh yeah, whatever, I don't care about this, you'll feel there's something there that there's going to feel missing, or there's going to feel like, oh, it just feels wrong in a way. And again, it doesn't come from my experience necessarily, but I can really, really get the whole perception of it being just like, that wasn't the best move.
I wonder if, and like I could be completely off here, but I mean, now seeing the repercussions of that with women who have these wounds and who have trust issues, who are constantly gaslighting themselves and then needing validation in other areas like the medical system, like because there was never those solid connections in those early years of partying and hookup culture. It's like you kind of seek it in other places, and then like, yeah, you can kind of, I don't know, I could follow that train down.
Where is it rooted though? Because I'm like, oh, I wonder why I did feel like that, or I did experience that. And is it because like, was that the rise in like parents being divorced? Is there like a wound? Do you know what I mean?
I think it was a culture shift.
Just
like, did you watch
shift
Sex in the City?
Yeah.
I watched that. That was probably my Bible as a kid. I was like, oh, that's how it's meant to be.
I've never watched an episode.
Oh,
it's
good
a good
for
cringe.
you.
Good bit of a binge. It's a good binge.
Yeah, but then
I enjoyed
also,
it still.
if I watched it now, like through with all the information I have now, I can even just think about episodes, and those were like every episode they were having casual sex with a new person. There's a lot of episodes. Like a lot of episodes. And
I'm like shocked. I'm like, every episode.
like every episode they're having casual sex with another person, or like trying to find love, or like some of them were in a relationship, but like, you know, that didn't ever last more than a couple of episodes, and it always ended in heartbreak. But then if you like the casual stuff, they're like, oh, I found something out about myself, I guess. Maybe not really, didn't take anything home, because then they repeat the same thing. But I won't psychoanalyze that.
From the biological point of view around pair bonding that I was saying, so the more women specifically sleep around with men, the less their ability to be able to bond with one mate. So what happens is that at the end of like, let's say 20, 30, I don't know. I've heard that women have slept with like hundreds. I don't know. I feel like so naive.
That's impressive. Like hundreds is, I feel like that would be very impressive.
I think so too. But like, let's say you reach even 10 or 20, your ability to pair bond with just one person decreases significantly. What happens is that when you find like your partner and you get married, you're way more likely to divorce. To split up. And that is the danger of, if you look back, like with my grandparents, with older people, that they've been their only one, they don't have like this leaky energy of like being with someone then being like, that's a good, because it's just not in them. They're just like, I'm faithful to you, I made my vows to you, and that's it. And they work on fixing things. It's not like this disposable society and that's what the hookup culture is leading us to be part of. Like, you didn't work, I don't like your hair, I don't like whatever, and just discard. But before discarding, you're sleeping with each other, and that's where the problem is. It's not like, everyone has like their own way of judgments, you know, but it's about get to know the person before engaging into that, because there are lots of different levels of intimacy, and it doesn't have to be like sexual intimacy straight away. But wanted to clear that around the pair bonding, because I think not necessarily from divorced parents we're going to repeat the cycle, but in the society we're moving towards, a free woman is one that makes her own choices and it has like responsibility and accountability for her own things. So it doesn't matter really what she does as long as she's empowered in what she's doing.
Can that be taken out of context though, and which creates the chaos? Like what's the difference?
That is the chaos.
Or did you mean that as in like that's the good thing? Or is like that's where we're kind of oh my gosh, I thought you meant that like that's the goal. I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds chaotic.
No, it is.
Well, you got it then.
Yeah, I think I got it. Need another coffee.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Wow. That is really, really interesting. And I like that about the pair bonding. That's the first time I've heard about that, but it does make sense. It makes sense on the leaky energy front too. And I find, I mean, I could go into that as well, but there are so many ways in which we can lose that energy, and it further takes us out of our bodies, which then kind of propels you to make more of these mistakes that don't feel good, but then you gaslight yourself. Yeah, it's a bit of a
How
cycle.
does like the goddess culture, like can you just explain what the goddess culture is just quickly, and then how that relates to where we're at with feminism?
Because you then went from uni life into new age life, is that correct?
I was in the new age since before I went to uni.
Okay.
I got into the new age when I was like, my first introduction was when I was 8, and then fully when I was 13. So it was like well over 20 years that I was in the new age.
Maybe for everyone listening, can you define what new age is?
This is such a hard term to define, but mainly the new age is this buffet of spiritual practices that people can pick and choose to get themselves to heal. And there's a big emphasis on the self, self-healing, self-acceptance, self-love, all the self. They call it like the cult of the self. It has big emphasis as well on Hinduism and gods and nature and lots of idols. Yeah, that's like the
general.
Yeah, very, very general way of seeing it. Yeah, but it's called the New Age because it's like the new way to enlightenment. And the people usually are seeking ascension. They're seeking to improve themselves constantly. So around the goddess culture.
Just because like why would someone see that as an issue? Like someone that's constantly trying to improve themselves or be better, like why is that such an issue?
It's the seeker. The seeker is always going to seek.
It never ends, right?
It never ends.
Like you just go, you think you have an experience and you're like, yep, still nothing's changed. I've got to go deeper. Maybe I've got to peel back more layers. Like are they never going to see themselves in the light of like enough or perfect or
or whole.
Yeah, content. Like that never arrives. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So in what happens to the seeker is that the seeker is going to go through something and they're going to get this gratification from what they're doing. And they're like, okay, this is good, but then it's never going to be enough. So there is a void within us, within all of us. They're trying to fill that void with all those things. And usually it is really aesthetic, is really beautiful. Like we get, like in the goddess culture, we get like the beautiful mandalas and like the beautiful gowns, like the goddess gowns or the flower crowns. And we are pulled by the beauty, and we are pulled by the promise of manifesting what we want and of having what we want. It is very self-centered. I haven't heard any part of the New Age that actually says like, okay, we're gonna do this. Like they can meditate for like other people, but it's not like, how can I change myself to be more humble, you know, or what can happen within me for me to really see the truth of who I am without all the colorful stuff. Or yeah, I know I fell into that trap for a very, very long time, especially in the goddess culture. That is...
Can we define goddess culture?
Yeah, best? So goddess culture, the best way to describe it is feminist spirituality. That's the short answer. So in the goddess culture, women believe that there is a goddess, and sometimes they believe there's a goddess and a god, but the goddess is the main creatrix of everything. The goddess culture path that I was in, it was very emphasized by nature, by Mother Nature, by worshiping nature, by worshiping the goddess. And this is not just one goddess. Then we go through all the goddesses and all the different goddesses and how they can be archetypes for different parts of ourselves, and how our personalities are similar to what the goddesses bring.
Can I, because I've not actually delved into that, though I do feel like I've delved into New Age a little bit, but the goddess side. So is that like when you hear like terms such as Eros, is that like, was Eros a god or goddess?
No, that was a god.
God, okay.
Yeah.
But is that part of that?
New Age.
New Age. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I honestly never really went. That's more like the tantric people will talk a lot about Eros and awakening the Eros and just really, you know, wanting to align, and like the what was it called? The Ida and Pingala, like the energies that run up and down our spine, and awakening Shakti and so all
and
that
like the Hindu
is
gods as well.
Yes, of course.
Shakti?
Yeah, okay. Shakti, Sarasvati, and
that's what I got caught
Durga.
up in.
Yeah,
because I went to India, I studied yoga, and then spent time there, and it's very much like there, but surface level, right? Just not even understanding the depths of it, just adopting ways of communicating, using the language, and probably having very little understanding of the history of it. But that's kind of what I see now. I see a lot of people using Ayurveda, but not just from a nutrition standpoint, from, you know, like they're introducing certain like ceremony and those kinds of concepts, but it seems like the lines are blurred. There's a bit of everything going on. Like there's a little bit from each box, and they're putting it together in like ceremony for mothers and for, you know, like afterbirth, and that's kind of what I'm seeing a lot of.
I want to just put out there though, it is a really beautiful.
It is.
Like
it's aesthetically stunning.
It's
You're like,
so
oh, I want that.
And like, and when you look at it like from that traditional, like these ancient traditional lenses, like going back into India, and like I've got a really surface level knowledge of it, but you know, I've been to Crystal Castle, so but like when you're surrounded by that, it feels like a real cultural nice. Like it is. It is really pretty as well. And I feel like there are some aspects of it that are, and we've spoken about this before, there are some aspects of it that kind of brought, because my own history is that I went really down that academic route, which was like no kind of spirituality at all. Like when you die, it's just a body that switches off. There's nothing more than that. And that was my experience at uni as well. I mean, I studied anatomy and had to look at dead bodies and pick apart dead bodies. And so you really switch off from any kind of like esoteric or extension of that body. It's just a body, you know. And I mean, I was always down for giving my body. I'm not okay with that at all. But like donating my body once I died, because I'm like, it's just a body. but then when I came into motherhood, that was probably my first realization that, it's not just a body. Like I went through my whole pregnancy, like, it's just my body is doing a thing to another, like making another body, and it's all
just growing a baby. Not a big deal.
Yeah. And then, you know, there was something missing there. 100% there was something missing there. And that was when I was first like introduced and probably came more new agey because I felt more comfortable, even though I grew up Jewish, more comfortable with the spirituality and, you know, that mother nature and circadian, I guess, because circadian rhythms, like the biology side of it kind of
that's definitely
opened the doorway into
definitely
that.
where I see it. Like,
yeah.
I would probably align mostly with like worshipping nature or seeing it and seeing me in it.
Yeah, and like the
opposed
rhythms,
to,
the rhythms of the moon and the sun.
Yeah.
And it made
way more sense.
Yeah, especially coming from that really scientific background. I mean, and then like going into the stars was like a whole nother, like I really had to drop a lot of stuff. Yeah, astrology to get there. And I'm still like, sometimes I'm like, you know what? Actually, it kind of does explain stuff. And then other times I'm like, no.
Well, I guess that kind of takes us into that accountability stuff, right? And being like, we're doing something shit, or we've been doing something, you know, either projecting or, you know, just not being responsible for ourselves or our actions, and then being like, oh, what's the moon doing? Oh, it's definitely not me. It's definitely not me.
My kids are acting completely out of control, obviously, because
Not
it's
my
a
parenting.
full moon.
Obviously.
Not my shit.
There's so many sayings now, like being away from it, that I hear, especially in this area, that I'm like, what? Like, it's not that. Like, you're just being an idiot. Like, you're just not really.
Full disclosure, though, I will still blame the moon for my kids.
Yeah, well. I will say I definitely do not sleep have a good sleep when it's full moon. So I couldn't, that's validation right there for you, Keshia.
It's really light outside.
It's real, guys. But I think that's a big one, like accountability and being responsible and actually looking at yourself instead of thinking that there's an external force that's making you a shit person. And I think the goddess culture could potentially keep you from being.
Yeah, sorry, I do want to let you talk, Luna. I feel like I keep cutting you off, but I had just a little point. In the accountability side of things, when, you know, someone isn't successful or their relationship isn't working or their parenting style, I don't know, their children are mucking around, like there is a tendency to then look at your chart and be like, oh, that's because, I'm pulling shit out of my ass right now. But
projector, that's
yes,
right.
Yeah, or like Mercury's in retrograde, yes. and that's like the reason for. And as soon as that finishes, well, things might get better. Or I'm not going to be successful because it's just not written for me, and I just need to
go with the flow.
Be okay with that. Yeah. So, yeah, we actually, the last time we spoke to you, Luna, we did go into flow because I have to admit that I don't fully have my head wrapped around masculine, feminine, and flow. Like the concepts, like there's some parts of it that make total sense to me, coming more from like that biological standpoint. But when I try and put it in my own situation, I'm like, I can't, like, and we talked about this last time, when you are a mother and you have young kids that depend on you 24/7 and you have appointments and you have school runs and you want to start a business and you want to be doing purposeful things, they're like, to fall into what is defined as, or what I feel is defined as, a flow and your feminine energy, so that you maintain polarity with your partner, so that, you know, you're always magnetically connected to each other, is not like, you can't do the two together. Like you can't be, it feels
surrendered.
you can't be like surrendered and going through, like going with your cycle, and you know, on day one lying on the couch and honoring your flow, but also that day one you've got like 17 different appointments and parent teacher interviews that night and so much work you've got to get done during that day, and your kids have got to get to school, and you're also cooking for the newest mum in the neighborhood. And I feel like there's a real conflict there, like women who do have families, who do have responsibilities, who want to do this stuff too, who feel really energized by being really like motivated and goal orientated and like achieving a lot, is taking you out of your feminine and pushing you into your masculine. And it feels like there's a real like, I think
you're supposed to stop and just let it all.
Yeah,
that's what I've ever since stepping away from all that, like just not seeing it as masculine or feminine. Just do you, just do what you need to do. You know, like a woman, let's take, for example, like a lion and a lioness. The lioness is the one that goes hunting. It's not because she's masculine. It's because she's just the one that goes hunting. You know, we don't have to put masculine and feminine on absolutely everything. In my language, in Spanish, we have like la taza. This would be feminine. El micrófono. This would be the microphone. That would be masculine. It doesn't mean that they're going to act in masculine or feminine ways. This is receptive right now, but in Spanish, this is masculine. It doesn't matter. The polarity movement has just taken things way, way beyond what they should be. Things are simple. It's not that complicated. The whole thing about the flow as well, and being able to, let's say, just taking your example, because you were talking about it, of having kids and having to do, you know, we cannot just be at certain times. We actually have to be in action. And I do not think by any means that makes you masculine in that moment. You're just being a woman in action. That's it. Besides that, what I do feel, and that was my own experience and the experience of some women that I worked with in the past, was that there is that inner void that I was talking about. And for me, that inner void was God, the absence of. And once we connect to that, then the void becomes a spring. Then from the spring, the cup that we are being told, all the women, we're told like, you have to fill up your cup. And then what happens when you have a cup, it's only this size. So when you have to serve, you have to empty your cup evenly on everyone, and then you end up with an empty cup. And then you have to do stuff, usually even the new age, I have to do a moon bath, I have to do yoni steaming, I have to go for a massage. Not that there's anything wrong with whatever you choose to do to recharge. You're always gonna have to recharge. There are ways for us to connect to source. For me is God, and to be able to have that flowing. If we don't have that activated and flowing within us, every time that we give, we're gonna lack. It's gonna drain us because we're not connected to anything that is like almighty. There's nothing there. So we're using our own source, our own battery. So what happens? We go low, we have to recharge, then give again. So that's the other thing. So instead of giving from that cup, just really tapping into the spiritual nature that we all have. We're all spiritual, natural beings. And I can really relate to your story as well, being quite analytical minded and just really wanting to, okay, well, I'm gonna do the research before kind of believing in this, or I'm gonna see the more mechanics of it. And that's the way I was since especially in college when I had to do lots of research, and I did research around mindfulness and around all these other things, just to be really understand. That's the way that I would understand the world, was through research and just diving deeper into understanding. What I've learned recently is to not lean on my own understanding. And that's been hard. And that's also shown me how in the new age we want to know. It's that fight against the unknown. And it's like, well, I'm going to do my cards. I'm going to go to a psychic. I'm going to go to a medium. I'm going to do whatever. It's like, I'm going to manifest. There's a lot of ways to control and to feel like we're in control of our lives by doing all these things. It's like, I want my life to be good. I want me to be good. I want everyone around me to be good. So I am going to do X, Y, and Z. But yeah, when we just surrender, when we actually surrender, what are you going to be surrendering to? You cannot surrender to space. You have to surrender to something or someone. It doesn't just, you have to trust in something or someone. You cannot just do it to nothing. And once we find that thing that you're surrendering to, and you can fully let that go, everything else just kind of starts. It's almost like if everything was a storm, and then all of a sudden starts leveling and calming. And then you can feel that within you. And whatever you need to do from that moment on, you do it because you have that within you already. It's not something that you have to get outside. And with a partner as well, I think in the polarity movement, and I do agree in some aspects of it, not in the part of like, oh, women just be and just kind of sit there and receive all the time. It's like, who's gonna make the kids lunch and need to take them to soccer and all these things. But when you're with your partner one-on-one, let that go. Let that tension, because we create tension to be able to move. Like physically, we need to create some tension to be able to act. Try and relax into that. Just when your partner comes home, it's like, he's got this. And then start kind of giving it, like whatever is around you that you feel like, oh, I'm carrying all this. It's like, just start trusting him and giving it to him. But it doesn't have to be in all your life all the time. It's not realistic. We have ups and downs. We have to rest. But with your partner, yes, do definitely surrendering.
So what is like true feminine essence? Like, what is your perspective on what that looks like? Like, if we're not talking about feminism, we're not talking about polarity where the woman's literally just surrendering and the goddess and like this,
Worship me.
Yeah, like
Goddesses
can do no
worshipped.
wrong, and I do what I want when I want, and I can cancel at any minute, and because it just doesn't serve me to do that right now. So that's it. But like, I feel like there's an element that we miss it, which is like just doing things from a natural feminine essence, which is like more serving and being like more of an anchor in like our community, our family.
I think, and when the serving is actually filling your cup too, like the giving is also giving back to you, because you feel good in that in that moment to be able to help or to, ensure your child is getting A, B, and C, like that, rather than it draining. And you hear mothers talk about it all the time, like, this is so draining. And oh God, I am so guilty of that with our morning run at the moment. But when you can turn that around a bit and be like, oh, the giving is giving back to me. And so when I'm filling someone else's cup, I'm filling up my own.
I feel like I just had this thought, like on the way here, I stopped at a place I won't mention where, and I feel like there's that femininity, like that modern feminism take here, which is, I stopped, got something to bring here, and there's a lady there, and she's like, someone asked me that I know, they're like, oh, how's your gang? And I'm like, oh, they're awesome. So that I've got 4 kids, and the other mum was like, oh, I've got 4 kids too. Gross. And I was like it was, and it may be just autopilot, because I understand a lot of people like don't even think before they speak when they.
What a word to use. Gross.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, it's just like it was like she had nothing, there was nothing good about it for her. And that's probably not true, because she probably really loves her kids. But I feel like there's that a circulating energy of being a woman, having a family and children that is just like, oh, it's like a trap. And so women feel like trapped below this feminism thing. And feminism may not be the right word to use, but it's like, it's not good enough.
It could have been involved though, like feminism, or like the wave that we were talking about earlier of the like sexual liberation and control of my biology. Like then once you move from that, like, oh, freedom, and I'm doing everything my male counterpart is doing, to now I have 4 children, and you don't get that option, or many of us.
But it's like she had a better place to be, or it's not what she wanted. It's like, well, you have it, you chose it. How could this have happened?
4 times.
4 times. And for you to be at the end of being like, oh, just like, couldn't think of anything worse than having, but I'm sure that's not how she really feels. But no, to be trapped in this,
cut her some slack. She probably just had a little
she probably didn't sleep last night. But I hear it a lot. It's a very common theme where people just feel completely like fed up, or it's like they don't have anything good to say about being a woman, being a mother, being in that traditional role, like the traditional element of being a mother, being a wife. It's just like a bit icky for a lot of people. And I wonder if that's just because there's like an external pressure of that's not what we're supposed to be doing, or people feel pulled to be doing something else. Or
I feel like when we moved away, and I was talking to some friends who were born and raised Christians just recently, and I was like, when we moved into science and education, and it really like kind of pulled people out of religion and that and like spirituality, we kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater, because there are so many foundations in Christianity, which I know that you can probably speak really well on now, Luna, but there are, in terms of like relationship and I guess being part of community and all of like, and having a family, you honor that, like you honor the relationship, you honor and feed and grow the love and those connections and your family and then your wider community. And that is all like, it's good and it's great and it's regenerating and all of these things. And I feel like that kind of got thrown out with religion in general. Like, I mean, for me, when there was that big, like I don't know when the movements happened, but like, I feel like everyone kind of had a religion, and then
they thought they were smarter. That's the thing. Yeah. It's like science came in and it's like
and universities and like and medicine, I'm sure would have been a big part of that as well. And
I guess it was like the slow breakdown of the family unit. And a lot of that kind of came from there as well. Like we all just became separate as opposed to being like one in community. And
can you expand on that too? Because I know that that's where you're at the moment, and I'd love to hear a little bit more on that.
There's a lot in that, because like feminism has been part of the reason why they've split up the family. And then in feminism, a lot of the people were anti-Christians. So we see this movement that has anti-Christian values as well rising, and people don't even know. And I feel, from what I've heard, because I've heard like having 3 children myself and hanging around with them, they're like, oh, how can you do it? I'm like, look at them, they're pretty awesome. And even if I'm not having like the best day, I think they're a gift, I think, and I'm going to be really, really honest. I didn't think that always. At the start, I'm like, because I was in that feminist movement, I was like, just want to get to work. I want to do something productive, because I thought that my production was from working and from earning money. And I felt that staying in the house was like too much. By the time that I had my third, I was loving staying in the house and making bread and buying myself a little apron and making sauerkraut and preserves and all the things. I was like, so like, oh, I've got this. Give me all the 50s housewife magazines and I'll read them. I'll crochet, making stuff. I loved it. It was, the best. But yeah, and also in the New Age, and this is how it ties up, like the New Age and feminism and the goddess culture. In the New Age, one of the first proponents was, I think her name is Mary Blavatsky. And she was one of the people that started Theosophy. And in Theosophy, again, they are against Christian values. So if we look at Christian values relating to women and relating to relationships, they are, I was going to say divine. They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. And I was at the other side once, just really against Christianity, really against God. I was an atheist, and I'm like, no, like that's why I liked Buddhism, because then I did like a course in Buddhist psychology as well. So I'm like, okay, there's no God, but then there's like these holy people and whatnot. Not going to go into that. But in Christianity, we can see that the values, let's say, because you asked about true femininity, it's a woman, it's this is the word that no one likes, submissive. It's submissive to man, but it is because the man protects her. And once we understand that, and we see submission as respect as well, when we respect men, then men give back love to women. And then that feeds the cycle of love and respect. And there is a beautiful book called Love and Respect.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah. And
what a name.
And the author talks a lot about that. And it's really, really beautiful. But the thing with feminism is that we've been taught to speak in a certain way and to stand a certain ground that actually is disrespectful to men. So much so that we are accusing men of toxic masculinity if they themselves stand up. But we can stand up and we can say whatever we want. But the moment that they do it, it's like, you are abusing me and you are this and that. So men are walking around eggshells with women at the moment, especially if they're feminist, especially if they're in the goddess culture as well. Because there's no nurturance in women that I've seen almost at all. And that is the other way of seeing true femininity. It's just that softness and also meekness. And meekness, it's interesting because the first time I heard this was like 3 years ago, because English is not my first language. And I heard it and I'm like, what's that? And my friend was like, oh, that's just being really like shy and kind of
weak.
Like,
it's almost weak, meek and weak. Like in my mind, it's before actually listening to some Jordan Peterson stuff where he talks about the meek.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my mind, it was always like synonymous, being like weak and meek were more or less the same thing. Yeah.
So what I found the other day is that they call a horse that has composure and is about to go to battle meek. It's the moment where the horse has all the training, has in the mind, let's say the heart, it's all balanced and it is not in this position of like reactivity or anything like that. It's completely composed and self-assured as well. That's what they call a horse meek before going to battle. It's completely ready. And I love that and then in the Bible as well, they call women to be meek, but they call men to be meek as well. And they describe Jesus as being meek. And it comes from the sense of having this assurance and this righteousness that it is holy. It just gets you closer to God. And I thought that was so beautiful. I'm like, oh, I want to be meek. I'll be that type of meek, not the other one that I thought it was.
Yeah. No, that is like, and that is something to achieve too, because to be like, and I'm paraphrasing what you just said, but like what I interpret that was to be like really grounded. And I mean, we've spoken to so many people on the podcast already about like in parenting and relationship, and the best place to be ever, like where everyone wants to achieve, is to be in a place where you're not reactive, where you are responsive. And that is how like you can nourish everyone around you, especially if they are being reactive. Like if you can be in that place,
that grounded,
now we can call it meekness. But like, yeah, you're just grounded, you're centered, you're the tree, you're anchored, and no matter what is going on in your environment, you can like
hold
process the information, or
and
hold
speak truth as well. It's really important in that meekness. We speak truth without arrogance, without pride, just speaking it. You know, we don't have to kind of say like, oh, I won't say these things, or, you know, we can still speak with gentleness and love. And that's what it encompasses. And I feel that like being meek, it is beautiful for men, but specifically for women, because we're also keepers of the culture, you know, and what type of culture are we leaving our children? Like for us, we can be a bit more aware, you know, about like the dangers of certain things, but there are mothers that have like OnlyFans, and the kids are almost suicidal because one of their friends saw their mom on OnlyFans. It's just insane. And
I think you made a really good point there, just saying that mothers are the keeper of culture. There's a lot that mothers are dropping or encouraging their children to be part of. And I find that, I feel like just that alone, like just pondering on that without even having to say anything, you know, reflecting and looking out at what is going on out there and concepts and ideas and, you know, things that we're presenting. A lot of that is coming from mums who are trying so hard to be, you know, accepting of, or want to be accepted, or like you're doing the right thing, you're a good person, yes, your child's gonna be okay. And if you know what I'm getting at, without saying it,
soul, you're racing the soul to ascension.
The child can be anything, do anything, be anyone, even I guess you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with it.
We'll probably not go into
permission is incredibly permissive, and part of, I'm in the process, I've only read the introduction so I can really talk to it, but reading a biblically inspired parenting book that bases like 14 principles on the gospel. And it's really interesting because it does say that there is importance in discipline. We cannot just be permissive, and we can see in what you're talking about. Yeah.
Reading between the lines.
I really didn't know if I was that obvious or not, but obviously I am.
No, we got you. But we have to put boundaries as well. Boundaries are really important, and foundation. So if we don't bring boundaries to our children, we're not setting the foundation either. And that's really important, to just be like, this is natural. This is what the world is like. And then from then on, they can, and it happens so quickly. Like my eldest, she's going to be 9, and she's already having this development and talking about things that I'm like, oh my goodness, you're just going to go out and walk on your own soon and have to make decisions. And I just hope that everything I've taught her so far, and especially by me modeling that has helped her in some way. And I mean, I'll continue to do that, of course. But yeah, I think when women, and especially any woman, but mothers, we see that we are their role models. We are the people that our sons are going to marry. You know, they are going to see us and take us as like, well, my mom was like this, so I'll marry a woman like that. And same the other way around. Like if your son was with a woman like you, how would you feel in relation to your partner? You know, like how you treat your partner, would you like your son's wife to treat him like that? So it's this thing of actually just seeing it in this like 360 view, and the importance of us just showing up in the world and be part of community and be part of in other people's lives, like sharing food with new mothers or assisting births. You know, it's so important to bring that nurturance and meekness and gentleness as well, and also there's strength in that, and bring it to these spaces.
I love that.
We might leave it there. Although I could listen to you talk for another few hours, Luna. You have such a beautiful way with like describing all of this, and I feel like we could keep going on and on.
So much to ponder.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Luna. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram at luna.escribano.pereira. Luna.escribano.pereira.
We'll make sure you can be found.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you again, love.
Thank you,
Thank
girls.
you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Road to Wisdom podcast. To join the journey, you can follow us on Instagram at theroadtowisdom.podcast and at www.theroadtowisdompodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. We look forward to seeing you next week with more juicy content.